Olympic pool plays, man. This last weekend was amazing. Look, I got a chance to watch the Repechage, obviously. Shout out to both China and the Springboks for finalizing their spot in the Olympics, man. And this was as good a Repechage as you could ask for. Honestly, because of the fact that there were teams that simply I did not expect to be there, such as South Africa and Great Britain. We had teams like Kenya and China who had been in it last Olympics and were now fighting for that finalized spot. So we got a little bit of a shift of what is going to be used for this year's Olympics, who's playing for this year's Olympics, while getting a really good competitive play. And it legitimately was. I want to kind of go over it a little bit on the back end, just so that we can actually remember. Let's recap this a tad bit. All right. Look, whenever we had it for Pool A for the women, we had South Africa, Chile, Tonga, Mexico. Then for Pool B, you had Great Britain, Canada, Uganda, China, and then I'm sorry, this was for the men. And then you had Spain, Hong Kong, China, Brazil, and Papua New Guinea. Now, of course, if you guys remember last week we talked about it, Papua New Guinea had to be disqualified because of the fact that they just couldn't have the documents. They didn't have the money to be able to go, but we still were able to see it. And then for the women, you had Kenya, Argentina, Samoa, and Papua New Guinea playing Pool D. Papua New Guinea obviously out. Uganda, Hong Kong, China 7, Paraguay, Jamaica in Pool E, China 7, Poland 7, Czech, and Mexico. Now, I talked last week about the teams that I really thought were going to make it. And honestly, I got to give myself a lot of credit. Because I was pretty goddamn good with this one, man. Like, I kind of got my first places. Pool A, I absolutely thought South Africa and Chile were going to come out of that. Again, the biggest surprise in this whole thing is that South Africa was in that Repechage fighting for a final spot, as opposed to being able to. Shout out to Kenya for knocking them out of the Africa Cup. But South Africa and Chile won their pool. Great Britain, I had Great Britain and Uganda actually winning out of the Pool B. And to my absolute surprise, Canada men really decided to show up. Finally, it took them, I don't know how many months, how all year to actually be able to do something. And now they're finally being able to do it. And, shout out to them. This was the only pool that really just kind of had me kerfluffled in the entire time. But Great Britain and Canada ended up at the top two. Uganda ended up going in because of Papua New Guinea no longer being in the play. So there was one spot remaining, and Uganda ended up taking up that spot. And then on Pool C, had Spain and Hong Kong, China 7s. I kind of thought Brazil might have had a chance, honestly. And I think that one I was off. But, again, Hong Kong, China 7s, give them their credit. It is the biggest rugby place in Asia, more or less. But, yes, and bigger than Singapore, people don't realize, yes. But for the men, that was them. So, who moved on to the quarterfinals was South Africa, Chile, Great Britain, Canada, Uganda, Spain, and Hong Kong, China. And then for the women's side, this one I was pretty accurate on. Kenya and Argentina women ended up winning out of Pool D. Uganda and Hong Kong, China 7th ended up winning out of Pool E. Now, that one I actually did get wrong because I thought Jamaica would actually stand out a lot more. I thought Hong Kong, China 7's women was going to falter a lot more, and they did not. The Paraguay played a lot better than I expected, beating Jamaica, which was sad to me. But Uganda women really came with it, and I'm so proud of them, because of the fact that, again, I've talked about it. I'll talk about it each and every episode if I can, that this is an up-and-coming program. They are just a little bit of dollars away from being a dominant force. And, even though the men did not perform to the level that that would, you would think is like, oh man, they're gonna, go in a championship round. I didn't expect that, but I did expect that Uganda women were going to be in the mix, and Uganda men were going to be competitive, and they thankfully were competitive enough to be able to make it to the quarterfinals. And then you had in Pool F, China and Poland, which again, nothing was really surprising coming off from that one. If you guys know, like China had already won the Challengers Cup, already gone to HSBC 7's promotion, so you knew they were going to be good. And then Czechia and Mexico, I had not heard anything great about them, but Poland I did, and Poland lived up to its billing. That being said, I was properly humbled when it came to talking about Czechia. So out of that, because again, Papua New Guinea was no longer in the mix, they were able to add one more from another pool. So who moved on to the quarterfinals was Kenya 7s, Argentina 7s, Uganda 7s, Hong Kong 7s, China, Poland, and Czechia. Well worth it. Great pooling on that. So we got to the quarterfinals, man. And this one was really, really where it came down to it because, again, for the women, my prediction beforehand was I thought it was going to be China versus Uganda women in the finals. And I did assume that it was going to be the Springboks. My heart, my brain told me the Springboks had to go in. And then I felt like Great Britain was, or no, I thought Spain was going to actually be the contender against South Africa. And, you know, shout out to Great Britain for trying to get a little bit of a 2016 Olympic rematch, quasi-finals rematch out of that one. But all right, so quarterfinals. We're gonna break it down. I'm gonna keep going through. All right, quarterfinals for women. Yeah, China going up against Paraguay. Also, Paraguay made it through. I forgot. Against Paraguay, absolutely assaulted them 31-0. Really wasn't a close game. Then you had Poland 7s going up against Hong Kong, China. 38-0. Kenya 7s up against Argentina. This one was a legit good game. Kenya really was able to just barely make it through because of bad kicking. Argentina's kicking held them back on this one. And I'm really glad Kenya was able to get through. It was a squeaker, one of those last second plays. Woo, you felt it in your heart. Kenya went on, win 15-12. And then Chechnya, which this one hurt my soul. This one hurt my soul because I was looking for the All-African Cup a little bit, but it was okay. Chechnya defeated Uganda 22-0. And honestly, I do feel like this one was a factor that Uganda just wasn't ready for day 3. Like 2 days of hard playing rugby is one thing, but whenever you have to wake up for that third day, like I feel a lot of these teams really started faltering because of wear and tear. Like the teams that really ended up making it through were teams that have been in this position multiple times over. So when we ended up seeing China taking on Poland, China absolutely dominating through, was getting stronger. And mind you, China had already been on a streak. They'd been on like a 25-game winning streak with, I think, one loss that had their last loss or so. The team that broke their streak happened to be Kenya, which made this even better whenever you saw Czechia going up against Kenya in the semifinals, which literally was another kick game. Kenya was squeaking out these moments. But that finals play, China really said, we're getting our vengeance on this one. Ended up winning it 24-7. China moving on. Good. No, this has been a good year, 2024 for China. Not only did you win the Challengers Cup, not only did you get your promotion back to HSB 7s for next year, but now you are also back to Olympic eligibility, which means that China team is going to get funding like a mug again, because, China love to be able to hyper-fund their sports programs so they can, continue to work their way into being the top echelon in sports in that manner, hopefully. And again, have a third consecutive appearance in the Olympics as well. So this one, but I won't lie, the Kenya loss also made me sad because I forgot about Janet Okelu. If you guys look at one of my old videos from the 2020 Olympics, like I thought she had one of the best celebrations out of it. And I was really excited to have her go and do it again. But, it's okay. Sometimes it's just that's the way the cookie crumbles, it's how it goes. And then for the men's side, now, again, this was always about what the heck are the Springboks doing in this position? Like, again, I give shout out to Kenya men for, despite all the issues that are going on in Kenya right now, the protests and the financial issues, the elections, these Kenyan men came out and absolutely did their damage up against South Africa back in March, I think in Mauritius during the Africa Games, and absolutely was able to get their qualifier out of there because the South Africa team, it was so weird seeing them needing to battle for their final spot. But they did take on Uganda first in the Africa Bowl, the Africa quarterfinals. Uganda falling to South Africa 28-0. Canada, again, Canada was the big surprise in this one. I did not expect them to be contending because they've been terrible this last year. Like, I'm talking about the last 12 months. Absolutely have been faltering. The women, for sure, but the men had been sucking. And they ended up going up against Chile and beating Chile 24-19. And this is an up-and-coming Chile team that has been slowly getting their groove back. They found a way to systemize their rugby program similar to what Argentina does, and obviously it allowed them to get a Rugby World Cup qualification, allowed them to be able to get almost, I think, relegation into HSV7. Did they get into HSV7? They almost. I think they're set to, but if not, they've been on the cusp. They've been on the cusp. So they are going to. I'm just checking here real quick. They gotta know. I can't remember. Okay, so yeah, they didn't qualify for the HSBC 7s, but they're there. They're almost there. They're coming along with it. So that defeat of Chile really was a nice little setup. And I was surprised about Canada. And then absolutely when it came to Spain versus Hong Kong 7, I had no surprise that Spain was going to beat Hong Kong, China, and they ended up beating them 28-5. And then finally, Tonga went up against Great Britain, losing 33-0. Tonga, I just never thought had a chance in this. I was surprised they got a chance to move on. And then Spain, like I said, Spain has been an up-and-coming program, finding their rhythm and getting their way through. So it took it through. South Africa ended up beating Canada in a blowout. Canada, again, where they got to was already impressive considering how poor they've been all season. That group, if they continue with what they're doing, they're going to be back into contention for like HSB 7s and really have maybe a chance towards LA 2028, which I think will be far more viable for them. And then, of course, Great Britain took on Spain. This was a close one. Again, Spain is not to be played with today. They did not get back into the HSB 7s tournament for nothing. All right. This is a team that is like soccer quick with actual ability to hit and defend and pass. Like they're legit. They're legit. But that men's finals cup was so close. Again, I felt bad because Great Britain, in 2021 really showed out. But it's really interesting. The more you talk about Great Britain, the more you look it up. I didn't realize that I guess the UK nations had so much vitriol against the Great Britain team. Like I didn't realize there was a problem. Like I know that each team would love to kind of have their own positioning in the Olympics. Like Wales would like to just be on their own, or Scotland would like to just be on their own, and England has notoriously been. But whatever it is with the Olympic Committee, like Great Britain, UK has to kind of come together as Great Britain, obviously, other than Ireland, and perform for them as a grouping. Even though I did find it weird that they did play the national anthem as "God Save the Queen" for England. That one, I, as a Welsh person, I would have been insulted, and as a Scottish, I would have probably really punched a wall. So I get the vitriol, but like, I always feel like when it comes to the Olympics, like there's a moment wherever you just kind of separate out where you are absolute rivals to just being like, yo, we got to go kick everybody's ass right now. And then now we'll go back to hating each other again later on. But, they don't have to worry about it because Great Britain men did not make it into that final spot. So brings us.
Don't you love a great ketogenic family? My name is Gifte Belu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Food. I wanted to talk to you about one of our top baking mixes, and that is our ketogenic baking mixes. We got a ketogenic seed baking mix, our ketogenic almond baking mix, and of course, our ketogenic coconut baking mix. Now, what is so important about it being ketogenic? Now, for those who don't know, ketogenic means that it is utilizing low carbs to be able to eat from. The point of it is so that your body will naturally activate burning from your fat and be able to sustain off your proteins rather than feeding your body carbohydrates and your body simply burning that, and you just don't lose weight. And so whenever you're doing that process, it's incredibly difficult. And of course, you're always going to have a craving for wanting to eat the breads and the carbs that you typically would have. With our keto baking mixes, you can have the pancakes, the waffles, the cookies, the cakes, the pizza crust that you absolutely desire without sacrificing the work, your diet, and obviously the results that you're trying to get. All our ketogenic baking mixes are gluten-free, grain-free, plant-based, and absolutely loaded with natural vitamins and minerals. We want to make sure that they are low net carb, they have no added sugar, they are protein rich, they have good healthy fats, but even more importantly, they have a low glycemic level. So for those who are diabetic and you're also still trying to find something, we have the baking mixes that are for you. And I'm sure you're wondering, why make 3 versions of them if they all are basically doing the same thing? Well, we wanted to make sure, as always, that we are trying to specialize to your dietary need. So with our ketogenic coconut, we wanted to give you a version that allows you to have a sweeter bread without sacrificing your diet. But it provides you things that you can make with your cakes, you can make your cookies, but you can be able to not have to lose your mind trying to find things that can satiate the taste without ruining your diet. With our ketogenic almond baking mix, that is one that has probably the highest protein content. It allows you to be able to control your blood sugar levels, reduce your blood pressure, lower cholesterol levels, and of course, it goes to promoting weight loss and being able to control the hunger. And for our ketogenic seed, this is for those who have a nut allergy and they can't take anything like the almonds. So we want to give them still the same thing. You can still make your bread. You can still make your pizza crust. You can still make your cakes and your buns and your muffins, but you don't have to worry about having an allergic reaction. You definitely can go check out the ketogenic line of products at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, keep up with your diet, get the foods that are necessary to keep you going, and let's get the results that you absolutely deserve. Let's go.